I had NCOs come to me, was like, oh, what's this? I'm like, oh, it's my clothing brand. And it's like, good luck.
Hey, got something really cool I wanted to run by and let you know what's going on. So I'm starting a group that will start taking a deep dive into each one of these episodes. So we'll collectively come together and talk about the shows, talk about the guests. I'll be bringing back some of the guests to do some Q&A sessions and really take a further dive into their story, their journey, the episode, talk about, maybe some of the things you wish I would have asked on the episodes, do some Q&A sessions and the like. As a friend put it to me, it's really like a book club, but for the podcast. So a couple times a week, we'll go in, we'll break down the favorite shows of the week, and have cool discussions around everything that we've heard, we've learned, and want to know about their journey. Some of these guests will come in and they'll teach part of, what makes them awesome at what they do. And then, as always, I'll be providing regular value and content in this group. It's really cool because this only is going to cost $5 a month to join this group. And you'll be able to come in, interact with everybody else in there. So I'll put a link right in the show notes for this that you can jump in, come have a conversation with us, and we will really deep dive into each one of these episodes and help us all rise up together. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It's going to be a great show today. Having the show wasn't something I started out to do. But the day I found out somebody wanted to really sponsor the show was a really, really cool experience. So, guys, I want you to take some time to go check out Point Blank Safety Services and their new nonprofit, Blue Family Fund. These guys are doing some really, really cool things. And Stacy McGovern, who's the CEO over there, has been a dear friend, and she was a guest on the show. But these guys are literally taking, the off-duty officers and putting them out in security guard role. And here's what's cool about it is, as they're protecting our lives, they don't make a whole lot of money in that regard. No first responders are paid for the value they provide for our safety and our health and taking care of us. So these guys, Stacy and her team over at Point Blank Safety Services have really found a cool way to give back to these officers by helping them provide an additional income so they can continue to support and protect us. So do me a favor, guys. Seriously, go check out pointblanksafety.com and then go look at their nonprofit, which is Blue Family Fund. Now, this nonprofit was created because of the success of Point Blank Safety Services. They wanted to give back to the families of fallen officers and be able to give scholarships away to the families of current, police officers. So do me a favor. It would mean the world to me if you would go out and help support this show by supporting Point Blank Safety Services and their nonprofit Blue Family Fund. Just tell them Donnie has sent you. You heard it on Donnie Success Champions, and Stacy will take a tremendous and amazing care of you. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, going to be another fun episode. I'm bringing in another Air Force guy. I'm not going to make fun. Yeah, I'll make a ton of fun of him. I'm sure I will. But bringing in on Aaron Doyle. Bringing on Aaron Doyle to tell us about his life, his story, his journey. So, Aaron, my friend, welcome to the show, brother. Tell us your story.
How you doing, man? I grew up in Houston, Texas. I don't know if we talked about that. I'm not from Dallas, Houston. A lot of people have a problem with that sometimes. But I grew up in Houston and moved around a lot as a child. My mom had me when she was 16. She was very young. She got married pretty young, right out of high school, to a guy that was not my father. I grew up in a pretty abusive home for a while. And that's kind of what it took for the police to intervene, for the situation to start to change. But in that matter, it changed the dynamic of the family. The balance was now shifted. My mom had to now be two roles instead of that one. And so just with that is like, I had a bit of a detachment, emotional detachment for a long, long, long time. Got through high school with several issues, and then I ended up joining the Air Force right out of high school. My summer vacation in 2009 was 3 weeks long, and I went to basic training. So,
you know, I think, hell, 3 weeks, dude. I mean, that's tough. Considering the Marine Corps is 13.
No. 3 weeks vacation.
Oh, then you went in.
Then I went in.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So, no, but it's still 2 months. It wasn't, it's not as long, but,
but
it wasn't 3 weeks.
San Antonio with, your feet kicked up and nice racks and.
Oh man, I wish. Hey, it's gotten a lot easier from what I hear, but it's a culture shock.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Houston. I met people only in Houston, the people I went to school with.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even meeting people from different walks of life, different cities, states.
Yeah, isn't it crazy, man? I love telling people that, what they don't get about the guys who go through the military is, man, they take guys from 50 different countries and slap them in one room and say, get along. You experience a lot of firsts in that realm.
A lot.
New cultures, and, you'll see stuff just blow you away. You're like, really? That just came out of your mouth? So, what'd you do in the Air Force?
Aircraft maintenance. I was avionics.
Right on.
So that's why I'm here at the airport now. Yeah. The Air Force gave me that. I was 18 when I went in. I was still a child in a way. So they gave me that sense of direction that I might not have had I decided to stay home. My mom cried her face off when I left, like the day I left. And that's not a normal thing. That's really weird for me to see. So you can stay. I was like, I am not staying here. Because you're crying now, but you're going to be yelling later.
Right.
When, you need to get a job. And it's like, I'm 18. I don't have. Okay. But, going to the Air Force, it is a culture shock. And it's, especially for me, there's a lot more white people, which is like, it's totally fine. It's a more microscopic minority type of thing. Like you're outruled in everything. You ride down the street to the gas station with, people from work. You have no say in what you're listening to, You're outvoted. I was outvoted every time.
You love going in and listening to music, man. Come on.
Man. Man, I mean, I can deal with it, and I'm not rude. Like, if I'm in your car, you listen to whatever you want to listen to.
Right.
Those TDYs and those deployments, like, it was like, no, you're not going to get your way at all at any point. It was like, all right, that's fine. With that being said, there's a different mentality about those, some of those people. I started a clothing brand in 2013 with a good friend of mine from California. He was also in the Air Force. And initially, when somebody does something like that, where I'm from, probably, here in Dallas as well, in any big city, people are supportive. They're like, oh, that's really cool, man. They might not, buy anything from you, but they at least say kind things. When you're in the military and that's the culture, it's like, oh, that's dumb.
Yeah, what the hell are you thinking?
Yeah, everyone's like, yo, that's dumb. Like, I had NCOs come to me, was like, oh, what's this? I'm like, oh, it's my clothing brand. And it's like, good luck. It was like, thanks.
Right. Well, you got to remember that most people that went in the military are very similar to you and I. I mean, we really weren't going anywhere. We had no idea what the hell we wanted to be when we grow up. So, the military comes that next step. So you're dealing with a lot of people that don't have a lot of big aspirations in life. And that's not knocking anybody. That's just who we are. It took me years to figure out the hell I wanted to do. So everybody wants to go with the crowd mentality. And if you do something like create a T-shirt line or something, man, you're going against the flow.
Yep. And
what they don't want to admit is they're more frustrated with themselves because they're not stepping up their game to do something with their lives. So they want to take their own bad feelings on you.
And I had to learn that. That wasn't something that somebody was like, hey, man, this is how it's going to be. It was like, because I went in 2009. So that was 3 years in. So I'm only 21, and I'm talking to these people, and they're like, "Oh, that's dumb. That's a dumb idea. Good luck with that, man." And it's like I had to keep that positive mentality like through that, and still like believe in myself. And it's really a cliche thing to say, but it's not cliche to do. It's really hard actually in certain instances. So I did that. During that time, my friend he was going through some issues with some of the people the person he was dating, and he ended up leaving the company. So then now it's just my company. So now it's like, all right, and that presented its own issues. And eventually, like, after my daughter was born, I had to stop. It was, because you have the military thing, which takes up a lot of time. It's not an hourly paying thing. So some days you're not out of there at
you only did 4 years. You're down in the crap ranks anyways, where you get no say-so about anything.
Exactly. So
they're like, go here, clean this, do that.
Yeah. So it was a matter of, I didn't have the time to balance between family, that I also was making music, and it was just like, I had to, it was like, hey, you need to spend time with your family. Hey, you're not here. Hey, like, I know you're doing this. And I took over the little area I was in. I was in Fort Walton Beach, Herbert Field. So in that little area of the Panhandle of Florida, it was really easy to spread around really quick. It didn't take no time. It's just my personal life became, more of the issue. So, and then on top of having a newborn, like, that was, my only child, my first child. And it's like, man, it drains you. That first few weeks, you're like, yo, what is this? You ever babysit? And it's like, oh man, okay, here's your baby back.
Yeah, dude, I tell everybody, like, my nieces, when they were younger, was the greatest birth control in the face of the world.
Yeah, man. It's such a culture shock. Like, it's such a shock when you're, like, going from babysitting to being a parent, because it's like, okay, at some point you get your baby back. And then we went home from the hospital, and it's like, oh, we have a baby. And it's like, it's just there. It doesn't leave. It just stays there with us. And it's like, oh, this is weird.
And why is it crying?
Why is it crying so much? It's so different out. And so it was a lot going on. So I had to, at some point, just completely stop the brand. I tried to, like, slowly do more with it. And it got to the point where once I got out of the military in 2016, I had to resettle. So I moved back to Houston, and I ran into issues there with my mother, because growing up the way I did, there was that dynamic, and that mindset of hers never changed. And she wasn't understanding that I have a family of my own, and I'm trying to as a man, I'm trying to take care of them, She wanted me to do things for her, like, hey, I'm your mother, you need to do things for me. You have a husband. He makes good money. He's taking care of you. I have to take care of them. And that's by any means necessary at this point.
Right.
Because I was blowing through my savings. It was terrible. I was like, oh my God. I thought I had more time. I didn't have more time. So I was like, it got to a point where I said the next person, because I had denied some jobs because listening to my mother and listening to other sources like, hey, don't do that. Don't move to that state. Don't move here. Don't do that. Stay here in Houston. Stay here and you'll find something here. And it got to the point where it was like, I wasn't finding anything there, and I was running out of options. So I said, the next person, the next company, I don't care who it is, the next one that calls me, that's where I'm going. Period. In the meantime, I got my personal training certificate and everything, just to kind of have some options. But I was kind of in a place where it's like, okay, I have a daughter, I have, a wife, I have to provide. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to now, because when you leave the military, you're kind of scared. And people also scare you. They're like, man, you're getting out. Hope you have a plan. And it's like, there's a lot of other people not in the military that have jobs. Like, less than 10% of America is unemployed. So I think I'll manage, but then you get out, it is a little difficult at first.
Well, I mean, it's difficult for a couple of reasons. One, nobody, helps you through the transition process. I mean, right? Nobody in the military, it's like, here's the steps to go do anything.
They actually changed that. There's a week-long course you have to go through before you get out, at least in the Air Force. And you phase out.
I mean, because I went through courses when I got out, but I can tell you they were worthless.
It was like a resume writing thing.
Yeah. And it's military people trying to teach you to write a civilian resume.
yeah. They brought in some guys that never. I don't know. They brought in some guys.
You don't lie. You didn't listen to a damn word that came out of your mouth. You were like, "Get me the hell out of here."
No, but seriously, they had some good information. There was some good information that came out of it. A lot of benefits that you probably wouldn't know about. Right. Like the Hazelwood Act for Texas. Like, I would have never known that. So there's a lot of good information that came out of the whole thing, and then networking with other people that are out. were in. It worked out, but replanting your feet after being somewhere for so long is I think was the hardest part.
Right.
Because you're starting at the bottom again, you know?
Yeah, but, you know, what I always tell everybody is, you know, I get a lot of guys that spent maybe 20 years in the military that reach out to me and they're like, hey, I can't find a job. What do I do? And I'm like, just start at the bottom. They're like, well, I've spent my entire career, you know, and I've worked all over the level. I don't want to start over again. I'm like, dude, if you were freaking awesome, you kicked ass in the freaking military, then you're going to start at the bottom. You're going to climb just as fast, if not faster, because you already know the ropes.
Yeah.
You know, but people, I don't want to say it's entitled, but they don't want to go back and work for a living.
They don't want to go back to the bottom.
Yeah.
They were up here and then they're coming back down here. Like, no, I'm past that. I'm beyond that. Like, you're not.
No, you were past that in the military.
Yeah.
Civilian, dude. Get over it.
Yeah, I was okay with that. At the same time, I was the sole provider. So it's like I had to deny based on just the wage. It's like, oh, we'll give you $15 an hour. And I'm like, we can't eat off of that.
Right.
So,
right.
you know, no, I can't accept that. Or in California, they offer me $30 an hour to work.
And that might as well be $10 an hour.
Yeah. And here, it wouldn't be any, here, it would be it would be a good bit of money. Whereas there is like, I'm going to be living, you know, some questionable areas. It'll be a little rough. So remember I said the next person that calls, like, that's where I'm headed. That's where I'm going. Doesn't matter. What's like one of the states that you just wouldn't really think? Like, now I'm not knocking the state, but you wouldn't think about when you're like, where do I want to live for however long?
I don't know. I've been through a couple of them that there is no way I want to go live there, but I don't know. Who was it?
I got a call from Lincoln, Nebraska.
There's some good things in Lincoln, though. I don't know.
There's some good things in Nebraska. Corn Huskers, apparently. Because that was every day, everybody. That's all we're talking about. And I'm like, all right. They called and they're like, hey, you know, we want to get you on this, blah, blah, blah. You want to work on planes? I'm like, yeah, you know. They're like, what do you know? They're doing this interview. They liked the interview. They liked me. And I was a contractor through some company. And they were taking money off the top, which is fine. They got me the job. I moved up there and I was like, you know, I told my wife, my family, my wife and my daughter, like, hey, stay here with my mom. I'm going to go up there after the contract and I get full time there, then I'll move y'all up here. So in the event it doesn't work out and I have to come back to Houston. Clearly, you know, your family doesn't want to separate from you. So there was some hesitance there, but I go up there and my mom and my wife get into it. And, you know, at a point you have to, you know, your mom is your mom. You love your mom. But when your mom is out of line and your wife is there, she's your wife. There's a different love. You have to, if it gets to a point where it's disrespectful and you have to step in and separate the whole, like, I totally had to detach from my mother and I had to go back 2-3 weeks after I got to Nebraska because it's a 6-month contract. Like, I wanted to wait the 6 months, see what happens, come back, get them, and then be good.
Right.
3 weeks. It lasted 3 weeks. Like, it was 2016. That summer rained really bad when I did the Diddy move where I moved all my stuff myself, put it all in storage. Our storage unit had a hole in it. And in Houston, or Texas in general, the rain is, you know, in the summertime, it's heavy. And everything we owned was molded, right? So I'm working with nothing already. You know, I told my mother this. I'm working with nothing. I have no money, really. And I had the little bit I had to use to get to Nebraska and start over. And I have to go back to Houston now to get my family. Now the plan is falling apart. Okay, fine. That's fine. Go there. My mom is continuing to be the way she is. I haven't spoken to her since. I ain't talked to my mom in over 2 years now. And as messed up as it is, it's like, I had to do it. Like, she's a certain way. And I don't want to bad talk my mother because that doesn't look good on anybody, but like she has some issues that after 40 plus years of living on Earth, you're kind of going to be who you're going to be unless you decide to change. And I don't think she has that desire. So I know me being me and me trying to be positive. I'm a very positive person, very optimistic a lot of the time. There was no coexisting in a positive way. Mm-hmm. So I haven't spoken to her since. I went, got my daughter, got my wife, and we moved to Nebraska. So now we're all cold, not just me. Oh my God! I got there in the end of September, and it was cold.
Yeah,
it's our standards.
Yeah.
Snow, never dealt with snow. Never dealt with 9-degree mornings. I was like, yo, man. I was having car trouble. Anything that could have went wrong was going wrong. And it's like, I'm starting over. And then, I learned the civilian life overtime. There's that thing. Yep. So I was like, oh, this is cool. It's time and a half,
Yeah, imagine if you got an overtime in the Air Force, how much more money you would have made.
Oh, man. I probably wouldn't have got out. I probably wouldn't have stayed in. I would have tried a little harder, But we were there. We were totally out of our element. There's like 5 black people in total in Nebraska. Yeah. So people are weird there, man. It's very small, and the reaction was never like super hate. Nobody was like blatantly racist or anything, but I noticed something. Like I got turned away like 2 weekends in a row for getting my car serviced. My wife called in. My wife is half white, and on the phone she sounds white. So she calls and she's like, "Hey, can I bring my car in this and the Thursday?" Like, yeah, come on, bring it on in. I show up, he's like, "Oh no." I was like,
so jacked up.
Oh man, 2 weekends in a row. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll go somewhere else, and I had to go somewhere else.
That was one of the weirdest culture shocks for me. I grew up in Kansas, and we had one black family in town, and that's the only people we'd ever seen or experienced. When we moved to Texas, it was an absolute culture shock for a young kid. I was 11 years old, and as crazy as it sounds, I'd never really been around black people. Not that they're any difference, but it's a very intimate culture shock because it's just different, but they're not different. If that makes sense.
Yeah, we grow up differently. We grow up learning different things. It's just culturally, but we're people just the same.
Hell yeah.
So that was a culture shock dealing with those. I grew up around. I have a lot of white friends from high school and everything, but they grew up with us, and it was different.
Right.
So I'm meeting these guys, and they're looking at me like, back then my hair wasn't as long, and so it stood up about this high, and I had sides, down.
So you got a bunch of country boys, and I'm one, so I can say that. They're like, oh my God, the gangs are moving in town.
Basically, like, this guy at work, dude's beard was down to like his belly, like down here. And he's looking at my hair, he's like, man, wow, your hair. That's crazy. That's just crazy how it, how it's doing that. Like because gravity. My hair got long and it started to bow out because it's trying to fall, but it wasn't.
Right.
And he's like, it's like a mushroom, and I'm like, all right, I don't even know you. Why are you talking to me? Your beard is like, how are you talking to me about hair on our body? Why are we talking about our bodies right now, man? We're supposed to be working on planes. Let's get to that. Let's do that. Like, come on, man. It's the same concept, except yours is on your face and mine is on my head. Like, let's keep it moving, man. It's okay. But it was certain things like that. It's like my wife saw it. My daughter didn't see it or understand it, but it would happen. We would go to the playground, and it was always that one family. It was like, all right, come on, Timmy, it's time to get out of here. We got to go. And it's like, oh, okay. And my goal was like,
sense to me.
Yeah.
I totally don't even wrap my head around it.
I don't understand it either. I can't fathom.
And I think it's their own insecurities. They don't know how to connect. They don't know how to reach out. So they're uncomfortable in their own upbringing, raising, whatever. So they don't know how to make the interaction, which I assume puts them in some sort of fear state that doesn't allow them to push past it, which most people can't do in their own way anyways, but I still don't wrap my head around it.
There's a lot of just like not like no information. It's like pure ignorance, because a lot of these guys I met up there have never left there.
Right.
And never plan on leaving.
Right.
And that what they see across their fences as far as they're going to see. Like, and it's like, I've been Dallas, Florida, Mississippi, Georgia, Kuwait. Like, I've been a bunch of places. I've seen a bunch of things, and you're going to tell me how, you know, you're going to tell me about culture. And it's like, no, I see your culture, and this is what you love. This is what you like. Oh, that's fine. But you can't tell me what I'm doing wrong at this point if it ain't related to our job, or, you know, if I'm not doing something illegal, then what are you talking to me for?
Right.
You know?
And
so
people don't understand is we're all on a journey, and our journeys, our stories, they're all going to have different paths and different trails, and we're going to get to different places because of different experiences. So you can't throw your experiences at me when, especially if you haven't had any, you don't expect to make any sort of changes or anything. Yeah.
So a lot of my friends there were military. So we understood each other based on that. But,
you know, let me ask this because I think it's cool. A little bit of a segue is, you know, when we went in the military, dude, you learned to get along with frickin' anybody. I mean,
you have to. You
got no choice, right? I love telling people, did you ever see the football Remember the Titans?
Yeah.
Right, and they go
long time ago.
Yeah, they go off to that university and they come tight. They become almost like a family, and then they come back to the school, and now they got the whole race wars and everything else going on. That's how I explain to people a lot of times what the military is. You know, you're in there, like that movie up at the college campus. Everybody's tight, everybody gets along. There's problems, but it's more like, you know, getting in a fight with your brother type thing.
Yeah,
you know. But then you get out. And now you're back in the civilian world, and you're such a minority as a whole, being a veteran, you know, that you see it from a different perspective, but you don't know how to necessarily assimilate what you've been through into an entire world culture that doesn't embrace it.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild. So how long were you up in Nebraska?
With all this going on, in the cold, I was like, I can't do this. I said, I have to find a way out of this. The company ended up buying me out of my contract from the other company. So I was full time. So at that point, I'm like, I need to transfer. I need to find a way to get out of here, you know, and I do research on a lot of things. And so when I'm interested in something, like, I'm going to find out everything I can about it. And the company was opening a new shop in Austin. Not opening it, but they were making it its own shop. It was like an annex of Dallas or San Antonio, and then they were breaking off and being their own shop. I was like, yo, I want to go to Austin. I never lived in Austin. I think it'd be really cool. It's pretty close to Houston. All right.
And down in Austin, your mushroom hair would fit in well there.
Well, by that time it's braids now, so it's like, you know, it's not as, you know, I'm a little more low key. Right. Like, okay, that's normal. Yo, people would stop and stare. Man, I can't deal with it. They would stop their conversations and just look. And I'm like, all right, man. I'm wearing tie dye. I stood out, man. I stood out so bad.
That's so awesome.
My wife would get so mad. She's like, what are they looking at? And then, you know, I'm like, hey, no, it's all right. It's all right. So I applied to Austin. They never called me. I'm like, hey, man, what's going on in Austin, man? Like, I don't know. So then I was like, after 2 weeks, I was like, okay, I need somewhere else. Like, there's other openings in Texas. I'll find something else. And Dallas opened up. And I was like, okay, I'm going to fly to Dallas. And they say, all right, we wanted to meet you. Flew me down, talked to them. It's like, all right, we're going to take you. You don't know anything. Because I was doing something completely different up in Nebraska. I was doing install instead of troubleshooting. So I'm putting all these new systems in instead of fixing the old systems. So now I'm coming here and they're like, oh, well, we're going to need you to fix old systems and put in new systems. So you got to do both. I'm like, all right, I can figure it out. So whatever. They took me in. It's been, you know, good. The big change, you know, that came with that I wasn't anticipating at all was I hated Nebraska as far as living there and the culture, just for me. But the overtime was abundant. Like, I had so much overtime. I was working 50, 60 hours, you know, and I was working night shift because I've been working night shift since forever now, dealing with the military. So it's like, I was cool. I was good. And so much overtime, shift differential. The money was good. As I was leaving Dallas, as I was leaving Nebraska to come to Dallas, one of the higher ups came to me and said, hey, so there's been a mistake. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about this mistake, I guess. I got a lot going on. I got to move here in like a week. You know, I'm trying to get this situated. It's like, yeah, so we looked, cause they had to change my cost of living differential to come to Dallas, cause cost of living there is like dirt cheap.
Right.
And so they're like, yeah, we've been overpaying you for a long time. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's unfortunate. And it's like, oh yeah, it is, cause it's like $2,000. So we got to take X amount out of your paycheck, every paycheck for a year. And I said, oh, all right. Well, I mean, that sucks, but all right. You know, that's fine. I'll manage. I got here, no overtime. There's no overtime. So everything is standard. So my amount of money I can make is set at a certain rate, and it doesn't get no better than that most of the time. And it's like, okay, this is really bad because I didn't factor this in. I didn't think that there wouldn't be overtime. I thought, you know, overtime outside, it's just the culture. But the shop I work at, as opposed to up there, everybody's over 50 years old. I'm the youngest person by decades in this shop.
Everybody trying to stand out everywhere you go.
I stand out everywhere I go. And I used to be so embarrassed, like growing up, for standing out. And when you go to the military, you kind of like, and you go through the things that I went through, like with the brand and everything, you start to embrace it. Like, okay, like this is, I'm built for this. Like, this is what I do. And it's like, now I'm just in every situation, I'm standing out. Everybody here is Caucasian and over 50. And I'm in my 20s still. So, you know, I get treated bad here. I'm like, yo, man, like, it's a quick story. I went to a place, at FBO, to work. I've been there several times, but they hired a new desk lady person. And I was like, hey, I'm looking for this tail number. I'm looking for this plane. I'm here to pick up something from it. And then she's like, oh, are you a driver? No, I'm not a driver. I work on planes. Come on, man. What do you mean? Like, look at my badge. Like, come on. What do you do? Your job. Your job is to see if I have a badge, see if I have access, if I'm asking you to get into there. So
I don't even laugh, but
I'm like, yo, what do you? Oh, I'm so mad. I was so mad, man. Oh my God. She couldn't find the plane in the system. I knew the plane was there. I just worked on it the previous day. So she's like, yeah, I don't know. The plane's not here. So I go, I leave. I come to my car. I drive a Challenger. That's a coupe, right?
Right.
So I can't be a driver, okay? Because you have to have a back seat for that most of the time. So I'm calling my supervisor. I'm like, you know, trying to talk to him about it. Before I get a chance to dial, one of the other employees, I think he's like a ramp guy, he knocks on my window physically with his hand, and he says, hey, are you a driver? Why do you think I'm a driver? Where is that coming from?
Dude, you need to go get a ball cap that just says, I'm not a driver.
I was like, yo, what do you mean? I was like, no, I'm not a driver. And then the next thing he says before I finish what I was going to say, I'm not a driver, he says, oh, well, you can't hang out here. Look, man, look, hey, I pulled my badge out. I was like, look, I work on planes. I'm looking for a plane, this tail number to be exactly, and I'm calling my supervisor because your people can't find it. So he's like, oh, yeah, I just heard about that on the radio. Hey, you know, maybe you disappeared. No, it didn't disappear. It's a multi-million-dollar plane that disappeared. Stop talking to me. You ruined my impression of you.
So not even did you walk in the place and they think you're a driver. You're out in the parking lot, they think you're a driver. But they even called it over the loudspeaker. No. They were calling to look for the aircraft. They were like, hey, there's a driver here. That'd be wild. No. I think that would have been a little bit much. I think what might have happened is he saw me talking with the woman and decided to follow me out because he was like, you know, before I even hit like dial, he was knocking on my window, and I'm like, you know, so I'm talking to this guy, and then he tries to play it off and joke with me, like we're not friends, we're not. Okay,
This isn't going down like that. So I call my supervisor, and he's like, hey, just, calm down. Go back in there. Ask her again if the plane's there. And I said, all right, man. She didn't find it the first time, so I don't know. And it's the second time she let me in. Obviously, the plane was there because I knew it was there. And, I moved on. But back to, first coming to Dallas, there's no overtime.
Well, before you go there, one of the things that I run into every once in a while is because you form such a relationship with the guys in the military, you get a certain joking and smoking going on, and there's jives going, on both sides of the fence. Yeah. And when you get out, you forget sometimes to turn that off because you don't, in my mind, you get to that spot where, I can say this, and then you realize, oh shit, this dude doesn't know who the hell I am. He doesn't know I'm messing around. I'm on both sides, and I've had the same thing happen to me. I mean, where somebody said something to me, I'm like, dude, I don't know who the hell you are. So it just goes back to that assimilating. You don't know always how to turn off those interactions you had in the military. Well, most people don't understand veterans anyways, but as a whole. But that's just interesting to me to see it from your perspective.
I think I'm a pretty fair guy, though. All I ask, and this is all you can ask of people, is if you're doing your job, if you're at McDonald's, if you're at wherever you work, I expect you to know how to do your job and just do it, like by the rules or whatever. Her job was to look at my badge, see if I was even authorized to be there. Had she done that, there wouldn't have even been a question about me being a driver.
Yeah, but you didn't get that option. Yeah, you didn't get that option. You walked in the door and you immediately got put in a box.
I was more upset that she didn't do her job, and that was the problem.
Right. And
it's like, I understand you're new. I understand that. Maybe you should reread your handbook or something. I don't know. But that was all that was. I haven't liked her since. And the thing is, she forgot my face the second time I went in there, and then, she also was like, no, man, no, I'm here for this. I'm here for this. Look, I'm here for this. And then the customer I was helping in there, he goes, maybe she likes you, man. Maybe she likes you. I was like, no, I don't care. I don't like her. There's nothing about that.
Just go get your badge blown up by 3 foot by 3 foot and just carry it in with you,
And I understand airport security and FBO security is it's a big thing because there have been people that have tried to hop private corporate jets. That's what I work on. And I understand, but if you just do your job the right way, protocol, you'll know it won't be a problem. Right. But I got here and no overtime, and we had a plethora of problems, so many problems. Relocation reimbursement means you don't get it right away.
Right.
So waiting on that, the apartment wants their money. I needed new tires for the car because they were falling off. It was like, okay, this is bad. This is getting bad. And so my wife was like, Aaron, we need money. Aaron, there's this and there's that, there's this, there's that. And I was like, okay. All right. I don't know what else to do. So I'm going to go to school. And I'm going to use my post 9/11 GI Bill. And I'm going to work full time. I'm going to go to school full time. And I'm going to come home. I'm going to raise my daughter for as long as, she's awake. And then I'm going to, do this and that. Do whatever it is I need to do. Because this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work if I'm not getting overtime. So starting earlier this year in January, I started going to school full time. And I was still working full time. And I'm still in school full time, and I'm still working full time. And it was hard to adjust. It was hard to adjust to.
A lot of hours, man.
A lot of hours. I thought those 12-hour shifts that, in the military, the 13-hour shifts in the military was I thought that was rough, but man, this is a whole other situation. Because in the military, it's like a military thing. You have military excuses. Oh, hey, I'm in the military. I have to go to this part of the base. Everybody understands that you're at work if you're in your uniform. Here, people at school don't care what you're doing. People at work don't care that you got school. Nobody cares about your problems, And so I'm like, all right. Meanwhile, I've always been a very creative person. I've always been in the arts. I had my own clothing brand, and I'm going to school for computer graphics. So I'm always doing something. I own a music distribution company where if you have a song or a mixtape or an album, you come to us, you pay us a nominal fee. We basically do it for you. Because if you do it yourself, it's going to cost you a significant amount of money, whereas we've already paid that money. And we're just get you in under us. You know, that's called a Sky Lounge Recordings. And we distribute. So we do that. I make music. I make instrumentals, beats, scores. I do art. I do a lot of things. So I don't ever stop doing that. So now I'm also doing that in between, after everything. I don't stop. I can't stop. And people always ask me, and I was still a personal trainer, and people would ask me, hey man, and I was going to the gym. I was trying to gain weight. I've been skinny all my life. When I went into the military, right after high school, I was 140 pounds. I'm 6 foot tall.
You're a beanpole, dude.
I was, man, like, in high school, the line that was used all the time was, you're cute, you're just skinny. I was like, oh, all right. I'm tired of hearing that. How about that? So through the military, I worked out a lot, and after I got out, I got that personal training cert. I'm up to 185, 190 now, and I have to work at that because if I don't, I get skinny again. But then now I get a gut because I drink beer now. So it's like now I look like an alien if I don't work out. So I have to work out. So I'm doing all this every day, and people are like, "Man, how are you doing this?" Like, I don't get people that don't have kids or don't go to work and school or don't do a lot of things being tired or not having motivation. I can't fathom. Because I have to do this, and I'm doing it. And people complain. I would see kids, when I was in the military, I would see kids that went to school, and they were like, man, I don't want to go to class today. Like, you don't have nothing, your parents paying for your school, and you don't want to go to school. I don't understand. But all right. So now I'm in school, and I picked up a lot of things very quick, especially Photoshop. I got real good at Photoshop. Now I'm at a point where, okay, I have more skills than I did when I had my clothing brand. Cause I didn't know how to do anything. I had the creative vision, very, very little artistic talent at that point because I let it go, and I had to find people to help me with that. But now I can produce and generate things myself out of nothing. So now it's like, okay, now I have a means to make my visions come. Like, and now I'm re-energized, and now I'm trying to do even more, which now I'm balancing more. I skipped over this part, but the whole issue with my mother, in my heart, I had a grudge with her. This was my life growing up, but I was okay with that because I was a kid. I didn't know no better. I just like, this is how life is. And then I got out and realized that's not how life is. At my mom's house, I got, this isn't life. And then I was holding a grudge. It was like, why are you being like this? I'm a grown man. I'm doing grown man things. I'm not asking you for money. I'm paying your light bill. You being wild, man. Why are you being so mean to me? So I was hurt. I was super hurt, and I have a grudge, and I just like really angry all the time. And when I'm angry, I cannot create. Like, everything is trash. It's because it's cluttered, it's clouded. And I broke that grudge, and I forgave her within myself for everything that happened. And I moved forward, and I started writing a book. I started writing a comic book. Ever since December of 2016, I've been writing that comic book. So now that I'm getting all these, skills, it's like I'm bringing this comic book. I'm doing this. This is happening now. That's probably like main priority after work, after school. Is like I have, and after being there for my family, is having that book and making that book into more than just words. And that's where I'm at this point. It's like I need to move from where I'm at, like trying to do multiple things to make this money that aren't not going to last. I don't mind working on planes. I never grew up saying I want to work on planes.
Right.
That's something the military gave me, and I'm grateful for it because it feeds us. But it is not a passion. I don't know whose passion it is, but it ain't mine. I don't understand. I don't go into a cockpit and be like, yo, I'm at home. Like, that's not what I want to be. It's not what I want to do. I want to create. That's all. I don't, I want to create and be able to create all day, not in between, breaks or in between jobs or in between sitting on the toilet writing chapters of my book. Like, I need time. I need more time. And I need to be generating income off of this thing that I love. And I had to transition from that. And that's where I'm at right now. It's, okay, I got school, I got work. I need to transition from both of those things. I could probably finish school. I could do school and do a book and do everything else that I'm doing. But working for a wage and not progressing fast enough at that, is not helping me do
what's
other
interesting
things.
about that is there's a lot of people on their journey as they're going through. They're in the same spot. They're working that 9 to 5. They're wishing, wanting, hoping for more, so they're grabbing at straws. And I think, everybody gets to a point where they get a little jumbled up, confused, whatever, of, what's that move? What's that strategy? What's that thing that, I need to be doing to get everything in alignment to move forward? And, what I find is when somebody finally picks a path and they go all in on that path, then things start happening. It's when people are spread all over the place that nothing seems to strive and move forward.
Yeah. I agree. Wholeheartedly, I agree on that.
So here's my question for you is, where's all this going, man? I mean, you've had a hell of a ride. You've had a ton of experiences that I would challenge that if you had not gone in the military, you wouldn't have had all the experiences you've had. So, it was a really good thing for you in your life and what you've done. Where's it all going to take you to? When we see Aaron Doyle in the future, what are we going to see?
Okay, so I go as a name because I've rapped for ever. And so I go by the name Phelps VJ.
What is it?
Phelps. So like Michael Phelps,
Yep.
VJ, VIGIER. And that is like my do business as name basically at this point.
Right on.
You Google that name and like things that I've done for the past 8 years, it's all online. Like that's all you see on Google. So through that, it's like I know that I've already left things here for if I'm gone tomorrow, there is proof of me, and I'm happy about that. At this point, I'm trying to move to the point where I'm going all in. So I wanted to open a multimedia company because I had to think. I'm like, okay, I do this. How can I do all these things and not be like, I got to open this business and this business and this business? So I could do a multimedia company that is going to run my book /story / thing about books and comic books and things is you can make a movie out of it. You can make an animation out of it. You can make a video game out of it. You can make merchandise from it. You can make so many things from it. And that is where my heart is right now. That's what I want. I want my multimedia company to house my book and everything that comes with that. I want it to also serve as a platform for the services I do, because I can score. Say, if you did more so like a video, if you ever had your own office and then you had people actually come in and do the whole video thing, and you had like an intro, you would need music for that intro, or you're going to buy it from somebody's going to do it. I can do that,
Right.
But you need to know me. I need to make that a service. I need to make that, known, or I make beats for people that rap or sing or whoever, and my graphics have gotten so much, like my art has gotten so much better. I like racy things. I think the human body is fascinating. So sometimes it's half naked people. Sometimes nobody's naked. It's just a lot of vibrant colors. There's a lot of contrast colors. There's a lot of, I don't know what people might consider an acid trip. I never took acid, so I don't know. But people are like, yeah, hippie, blah, blah, blah. Like that type of stuff. And all my stuff is on Instagram, and that's under Phelps VJ, all one thing. But I need that to be where all my money comes from. Not school, not work, not, these few random jobs here and there that people ask for me to do. Like,
So I'm going to do you a solid. So what we're going to do is we're going to put your artwork and everything in the show notes, and we're going to show your shit off. We'll put it all your Instagram things. Send me some of your music. I'll even put some of your music as part of the intro for this episode. We'll spin it. You know,
I appreciate that, man. That's love, man. I appreciate that.
I mean, with what I've enjoyed with the success of the show, I mean, we're in 71 countries right now, playing all over the world, with thousands upon thousands of people that listen to the show. So let's get you some noise and see if we can't shake something up for you.
Beautiful, man. I appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely. Well, let's do this, man, because I see big things coming in your future, and I want to keep the conversation between you and I rolling. But we're going to wrap up this show, and here's how I wrap up everything is if you could leave my audience with a quote, a phrase, a mantra, some sort of saying, something they could take with them, you know, especially if they're in the same boat as you. They're trying to figure out life and trying to figure out what that next move is and what they're going to do and how they're going to get there. What would be that quote or phrase, you know, you would say, hey, if you're going through it, remember this?
What I tell people, I've said this a lot. This has been a rap line of mine. It's like a lot of times I say start a business and kind of like mind it. Don't be wrapped up in everybody else because there's a lot of distractions out there. Mm-hmm. Like just take care of your business. Do what you need to do, and always understand like you don't got it till you got it. Mm. I believe in that more than anything. You don't got it till you got it. Like if somebody says, hey, I'm going to give you $5 million. Don't get excited at that point. Get excited when you have the money in hand, when it's in your bank account, when you see it. You don't have it till you have it. So don't count your chickens. You know, you don't got it till you got it.
That's huge. Well, brother, I got to tell you, man, it's been an honor having you on the show, man. I really appreciate you sharing your story and you know, getting as raw as you did about, you know, your life, your upbringing, and everything else, dude. So thanks for coming on and thanks for doing this.
And thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
You know what, guys? Really, thank you for listening to this episode. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun putting these together. I wanted to make sure before we get out of here that you knew what we were doing with social content. What we found was because of the podcast, we have a unique way of helping you get your social content out on a very easy way. What we're doing is we're interviewing people. And from that interview, we will capture a lot of information that will then be turned into videos, memes, articles, all things you can use for your social content. I know, like for me, one of the biggest struggles I had was, what do I put out there? What do I say on a regular basis? Well, we'll help do all that for you. So if this is at all of interest to you, reach out to us and let us help you grow your social media channel. I can tell you I did this for my business, and my social media is completely taking off. My Instagram, since I started doing this, jumped over 10,000 followers, and it continues to grow. So if this is at all of interest to you, check the bottom of the show notes for the link that says, Get My Social Content Done right now.